Alright, on to the main event game of the day, which is another sequel, but quite a big one. David Braben's, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. Here it comes, it's in your, oh, it's, Frontier, even more fronty than the last one. Frontier Elite 2, from David Braben and Frontier Developments, which I think had just been set up in order to create Frontier, and published by GameTech and Konami, which seems like another one. Konami distributing stuff for Western computers. Of course, Konami were knee-deep into the MSX, but I don't quite know what the relationship with GameTech was, but there was like a period in the mid-90s there where Konami were publishing big box computer games in the West. I'm going to let this sort of intro sequence play out a little bit because I can pretty damn well guarantee that this is much, much more exciting than the actual gameplay that we'll get to in a minute. This all looks really impressive, and I have no kind of nostalgia for really Elite or Frontier for that matter, for different reasons. Elite came out in '84, I think, on the BBC, and I was 1 then, so I was kind of a little bit too young for it, and then by the time I was old enough to kind of appreciate what it was, I didn't have time for it. And I guess Frontier Elite 2, to an extent, when this came out, we had an Amiga 500 with 2 megabytes of RAM, which was fairly powerful in Amiga 500 senses. But I remember somehow, I can't remember how, but I remember, and I'll admit to my indiscretion, having a slightly less than legal copy of Frontier Elite 2, trying to run it on an A500 and it going at about 2 frames a second. So that kind of, rendered me devoid of any love for Frontier Elite 2. This is the first time really playing it on an A1200 setup, which again, admitting my indiscretions, is emulated. So it is interesting to play this at the frame rate it's intended to be, and the graphics it's intended to be. And it does look very good for a sort of 1993 3D polygonal spaceship game thing. What's more kind of impressive about it technically is that this was all squeezed onto one floppy disk. In actual fact, if you look at the size of the file that it is, the executable, it's half the size of a floppy disk. There was another floppy though. It was a 2 floppy set in the box on Amiga, and I love that. Frontier is the long-awaited sequel to Elite. That's so cocky in a sense. So you get a start position here. I'm going to start at the recommended point. What was more impressive was that all of this was squished into 400K. And everything was procedurally generated, which is crazy, but that's also probably why it demanded so much of the hardware that my poor A500 couldn't handle it. So, if you don't know much about Elite, if you don't know much about Frontier, it does just dump you just like this, and we have now started the game as I'm spinning my camera around here. There's no real plot to speak of. There's a few quest lines, as we'll see here, as we go into the bulletin board. Each sort of planet, space station you dock in has their own stock market, their own bulletin board with their own sort of missions and series of missions. But you're kind of left to your own devices. It's open world, but not its open, universe, I guess. There's a guy here. It's called Stacy. I suppose this is the 35th century or whatever, 33rd. Doesn't really look like Stacy, but you'll talk to people at every sort of planet or whatever. This guy wants passage for a small group, but I have no room on my ship. You could say you start off with this tiny ship with only room for 3 bits of cargo and no cabin, so we can't deliver people. But kind of one way you can start is enrolling yourself in the military, and then that gives you a solid sort of line of quests. Although there's no real plot to speak of to any of this. You just kind of do well with whatever quest line you have. You get more money. You get promotions if you're in the military. One thing that's different to Frontier as opposed to Elite was that there was a much more in-depth kind of reputation system to everything. So whether you were doing legal or illegal actions, whether you were doing good things or not, your reputation would kind of spread around the galaxy. And, so that would kind of influence how the game played out. Although, I mean, you're left to your own devices. I mean, whether your success kind of depends on your kind of interpretation of it and your own ambition. So, let's get started here. You have to, very important if you're playing Elite for the first time, or Frontier for the first time, you have to obey the rules for everything. So if you don't request takeoff and just take off, then you will get shot at by the police. And if I fired my laser here, the police would come and screw me up, and my Frontier experience would last about 20 seconds. So I'm setting off parts on loan, the formal halt system, I think it was. So I'm speeding away. You can see not exactly, stunning frame rates and not exactly stunning graphics by today's standards, but this was pretty huge to have all this appear on an Amiga and on a single disc game. As I said, everything here being procedurally generated in terms of how the planets looked and things of that nature, which is really impressive. It just meant that it ran like shit on most sort of bog standard computers. And yeah, I mean, whether, as you see, I'm kind of screwing with time here. You can speed up, slow down sign to kind of render these journeys perhaps longer or more or less authentic, I suppose, to actually flying through space. But yeah, whether you like or hate Elite and Frontier kind of depends on whether you like or hate being directed, and not having any direction here at all. It's very difficult to play today because Frontier was kind of relied on its big manual to kind of walk you through, and there's no tutorial here, and I'm just trying to figure this out based on a tutorial I found online, and just game FAQs to teach us its multitudinous kind of systems and controls here. So you've got a 3D space map. I'm heading for a formal halt, so I think I need that. I'm not exactly sure how you set up the autopilot, or I'm not. Hang on, so you zoom kind of all the way in, and yet that's in the middle. So I'm kind of looking at a web page as I'm delivering this commentary and playing this game, so it's perhaps not the most professional thing. Everything's all kind of you see the icons down the bottom side of the screens. Those are also like the function buttons, so you can play solely with the mouse if you know all the sort of ways of fiddling about with that. But I'm kind of using a combination of mouse and keyboard, looking down on each, and then trying to figure things out online. So I'm down there, and I need to get up there, or I'm up there, and I need to get down there. I'm not sure which. There, go, quick. No, wait. I have decided that the last game we look at each month is going to be a little bit longer, but I didn't exactly kind of anticipate most of my time being figuring out how to actually play the game, and this is going to go down swimmingly in YouTube comments, but I am not going to edit. This is cinema verite, video gaming. Let's play, guys. Let's play, or let's look at a map and try and figure stuff out. Yeah, as I say, I really have no attachment to Frontier, and I have today kind of very little patience when it comes to kind of incredibly open-ended experiences, and it's always something. And GTA kind of has the same thing for me. I always kind of feel like the romance of it is really attractive, and I understand that. But when I actually sit down and play these things, I kind of get very easily sidetracked and kind of quickly bored by it. So while I'm trying to figure this out, kind of a little bit about where we were in October 1993. There's been a lot of sequels in this video, but that's not all there were, to be fair. There was one big new IP coming out this month in the arcades, and that was Ridge Racer. So while this was kind of being an ambitious 3D space shooty thing, and yes, I've done it, or space navigation thing, use the cursor keys on the zoomed out thing till that's highlighted green. Okay, so I should be set to go. Ridge Racer was kind of doing similarly ambitious stuff with 3D racing in the arcades. Virtua Racing had kind of been out, but this was the first time that it was really sort of slick looking and you know, really smooth and doing everything with texture mapping. And because it was on Namco's System 22 board, it was kind of easily ported to the PlayStation a year later. So I think it's arguably more important to PlayStation even than the arcade. So we'll probably look at that sometime next year, I guess, if I'm still doing this feature of 20 years in the past. So I do that, and then I click, and then I go back. Do I? Hang on, I need to wait. I need to look up some stuff. Okay, right, here we go. Here we go. Press all the buttons. Yep. Start the engines up. Yeah. Whoops. That's where I came from. Ignore that. So I'm heading there. So I just hit the hyperspace, the F8 button. It just goes, right? F8. F8. See, it's there. Game. Why can't I just go there? No. You can't track live viewers to this video, but people are probably tuning out all the time. Zoom all the way out. Zoom in. I want to go there. My engine's shut off in the background because I'm just staring at a map. It's gonna take too long to do this just flying from this view. I think I do need to use the hyperspace, but for the life of me, I can't figure out what I'm doing wrong here. Oh, I definitely don't want that. It's off. Hang on, control. That kind of, I can just change the names on the, so yeah, you see. I really want to head back to where I came from. Wow! So yeah, more exciting games like Ridge Racer, you're going to have to wait till next year and the release of the PlayStation for us to talk about that. But if you head on over to the written feature of this month in gaming history, we do have a quick look at Ridge Racer, and there's also in there on where there's GodzillaPoop.com an extensive look at the 3DO, which also got launched this month. In October 1993 in America, which was a fascinating console, and you know, if we had the sort of resources and abilities to do some video of that instead of me blundering through space with no idea of what I was doing, then there would be some of that instead. You know, really kind of the 3DO marked as a failure by most, but really, I mean, it's an interesting thing. If you looked at what the 3DO was, if you looked at it as if it was coming out today, that it was this, you know, technology that was licensed out to different manufacturers in order to cut manufacturing costs. It was something that had a really low... I've got it right! So Formal Hub is out of range of where I am, so I need to go to somewhere closer, but there we go! Oh, sorry, no 3DO talk, it's kicking off now! Yes! Yeah, one of the rare pieces of music. For most of the time you are just floating through space in lead. Now, there's some drama happening here. So now from here I can go to... Oh, crap. No fuel. Great. This video kind of goes from bad to worse. But that's Frontier. It doesn't tell you this shit before you start. It's kind of on you to plot out what you're going to do before you actually do it. Otherwise you're going to get stuck as I did, and perhaps I should have done a little bit of trading to get more money to get more fuel. So I don't know, I guess from here we're going to go somewhere else and then kind of refuel, I guess, see if we can refuel. So let's go to one of these planets, I suppose. And in the meantime, I'm figuring this out. Yeah, I mean, 3DO was kind of, it had a lot of these great ideas. It had really low licensing fees for publishers and developers in order to get self-publishing from smaller people that couldn't afford big, publishing contracts. It was kind of designed with independence in mind. It had all of these partnerships with other media companies. It was going to be there were plans for 3DO to team up with America Online to make an online gaming service for consoles way before the Xbox ever did it. So there was so many things that were incredibly cool about it, and so much that went down to just a combination of bad decisions by their partners, especially Panasonic, and really just bad luck in terms of the timing of it. So I really recommend that you do head over to wheredoesgodzillapoop.com and read our written version of this feature. Also because it will edit out this kind of, inept navigation that I'm going through here. So I'm going to head to this place. I guess, I haven't figured out how to turn on autopilot either. It is just kind of this aimless wandering, and that really, I don't know. It kind of, I'm feeling very turned off to Frontier at this point, and I know. Oh wait. So you hit the F function button in here. So okay, I'm gonna head to there. Right. So that's flashing, and then target's behind. Wait, maybe I need a different target. Is it over? Oh, there it is. But I want to kind of press on, so let's choose a different thing here. I know if you're of a certain kind of era and you kind of had this on a machine that could run it at the time, with enough time to play something like this again at the time. Oh, that's what you do. Okay, so you just kind of fly through these boxes. Then it does, you are more likely to have a lot of nostalgia for this kind of thing. There's an awful lot of, obviously, talent behind the projects, and it's doing some really fascinating stuff and ambitious stuff. It's just really hard to like, especially when you're just trying to shoot a 20-25 minute video for the internet as well. yeah, really not a big fan of Frontier Elite 2, um, and probably wouldn't be a fan of Elite 4, which I think was kickstarted. Whoa, wait a second! Ship under attack! So I can't actually accelerate time because I'm being attacked by that guy that's going, I don't think he's doing a very good job of attacking. Oh. But that's all I can do is press space to shoot one laser beam, and I think he's tearing through me. See, his gun goes wah, and my gun goes kapwa. So I think that's probably just a sign of that I'm a little bit screwed here. But nevertheless, this is the most exciting thing that's happened in this video, so I'm going to try and stay with it. Or should I? Should I get back on track? I mean, he is going to murder me. Bang. Bang. See, this is the other thing as well. The ship you start off with is really not set up for combat. So, as much as the fact that he's going to tear through me if he wants to, and he seems to be just dilly-dallying about, I also have no real means to fight back. So, see if I can just run away, I suppose. And there he goes, off the back of my radar. Phew. That was exciting, wasn't it? That's kind of what Elite is. You can do all of this amazing stuff, but, well, you can do all of this amazing stuff in theory, but I can't. I imagine that this is what Eve 5, oh, is that the game? Okay, Eve Online, there you go. I was thinking of Dust 514. I imagine this is what Eve Online is to most, or to people like me, just this great big expansive bewildering thing that I tool about with for 20 minutes and then stop and say, thanks, this isn't really for me. But yeah, for more on video games, old and new, do head on over to wheredoesgodzillapoop.com. This video is going up alongside a written feature on Tuesday, October the 1st. Usually our history of video games features goes up on or around the 1st of every month. So yeah, there's Frontier, there's 3DO, there's Ridge Racer, there's stuff from 2003, Max Payne 2 being a standout then, there's stuff from 1983, Donkey Kong 3 being released in arcades in October 83. So an awful lot of sequels as we get towards the end of the year, but some really fascinating reading if I do say so myself. So yeah, Chris Charlton for wheredoesgodzillapoop.com. Thanks for watching.